Hello, everybody. Welcome to All Villa No Filler. Please like and subscribe. I'm currently operating on a bit of a hangover. So if you could cheer me up with a bit of Christmas cheer, don't be Ebenezer Scrooge about this. Be a little bit more Bob Cratchit, and give us that subscribe at the bottom. Let's get to 2,200 subscribers on YouTube before the end of this year. Come on, let's do it. Look, I went to the German market yesterday in Birmingham city centre, wore an Aston Villa scarf around, so bumped into a lot of very cheery and very happy Aston Villa fans. There was nothing Scrooge about any of us. Met some really nice people as well. That's how exciting it is to be a Villa fan at the moment. Everyone's just kind of talking to each other, and met a really nice guy called Tom Williams. So Tom, if you're watching, nice to meet you, mate. And yeah, good to just meet fellow Villa fans. I also got a little bit of abuse off some Birmingham City fans, the true Ebenezer Scrooges of the Midlands area, those poor put upon fans who can do nothing else but sing about a football club with whom they do not share a league and probably won't do for quite a while unless Project Rooney can get them out of that league. Project Rooney and the little moments of magic that I'm sure he's asking his players to produce when they draw 3-3 at Plymouth. Well, enough about them. Uh, Halfway through the season, what a season it has been. Villa are in third place in the Premier League at the halfway point. We're just 1 point behind the league leaders, Arsenal, and equal on points with Jurgen Klopp's mighty Liverpool, whilst being ahead of Tottenham, Man City. And we're also, I mean, this is incredible to say, 11 points ahead of Manchester United, 10 points ahead of Newcastle United, who, beat us 5-1 on the first day. Who'd have thought we'd be that far ahead of them at this point in the season after that game? 17 ahead of billion-pound spending Chelsea, and 12 points ahead of Brighton. That is absolutely incredible. It's just incredible. It could barely have gone any better this season. I went to as I said, I showed on YouTube the other day. I went to the Sheffield United game as well. Disappointing not to get the win. Thank you to my Uncle Paul Dean for sorting me out the tickets. Fantastic experience. It's just a shame Villa couldn't get the result, but a little bit indicative of where I think Villa are slightly weaker, or not quite yet worked out how to sort of perform, and that is against teams that play with a low block. So Sheffield United effectively play five at the back, four in the middle, kind of like Brentford the week before, and one up front. Basically, knew that Aston Villa were really good on the ball, knew they weren't going to outplay Aston Villa. So defend deep, don't concede, and just try and hit us on the break. It's a tried and tested formula against teams who are ball dominant over the last 10 years, and it worked for Sheffield United. And just as it worked for Nottingham Forest earlier this season as well, when we lost 2-0 there. So there are occasions where against low blocks, I think we can look a little bit uh, lacking imagination, maybe, or um, sometimes just instead of just making that final pass, sometimes maybe somebody could just take the ball to one side and just hit it and hope, from distance, or take a deflection or something as if it goes in. Just like what happened against Manchester City when Leon Bailey scored. Um, just felt like there were occasions we could have done that against Sheffield and didn't really do it, particularly in the first half. But full credit to Sheffield, really. Defended very well. But as I say, I think that's probably where I look at Villa and think that's where we could definitely improve. Um, and it reminds me a little bit of Spain, the international team. And it's no coincidence that our coaching staff is so heavily made up of Spanish coaches, Basque manager, and Unai Emery. Uh, all of them are, forged in the fire of La Liga. So we're very good ball dominant side. And if other teams try and take it to us, we're very, very good at beating them. But it just feels like that low block sometimes a bit like Spain, we can sort of huff and puff a bit, pass it around very nicely, but not really create a lot. So that's something I'm sure Unai Emery is looking at and thinking, looking ahead to the second half this season and thinking that's probably where Villa are going to have to improve because more and more teams are going to try and do that to us. I'm absolutely certain of it. But our next game, Manchester United up at Old Trafford. Old Trafford, it's not a happy hunting ground for Aston Villa, really, is it? Still has that kind of aura a little bit, but it's faded away substantially this season. Manchester United look like a team who really are at their wits' end. There is no inspiration. There is nothing to look at there and think there is a positive future ahead for any of them. It's going to take a massive turnaround. The Glazers are a massive part of that. Fish rots from the head down, and Manchester United, I think, look like a team that totally lack inspiration at the top, lack a proper footballing structure. Jim Ratcliffe is coming in. I think that's today, even possibly. Uh, whilst he might come in and make some changes, I wouldn't say that his performances at Nice has particularly pulled up trees. And I don't really know how that exactly is going to work between the Glazers and and Ratcliffe. It just feels like a convoluted, messy relationship potential there. But you know, at least he'll try something compared to the Glazers, who seem to just not try anything at all. Uh, but with regards to the game, if I just read you some stats about Man United, they've gone 4 games without a goal for the first time since autumn 1992. They have won just one of their past 7, a good win against Chelsea, a 2-1 at Old Trafford. And no side in the top 3 quarters of the league scored fewer goals than Manchester United. They've only scored 18 this season. Compare that to Aston Villa, who've scored 38. It is just incredible just to look at Aston Villa at this point in the season be 11 points ahead of Manchester United, having scored 20 more goals and conceded 1 fewer. Just amazing, really. Um, with Villa coming to Old Trafford, firstly, we might as well just say Villa, who are we missing? Potentially Pau Torres. I don't like the thought of not having Pau Torres. That I think genuinely we missed him against Sheffield United. He's such a crucial part of how we build up. He's such a crucial attacking player for us, even though he's a defender. Just his runs driving forward, it takes players out, the opposition players out the game. And those passes he makes right into the feet of Ollie Watkins that bypass the midfield or right into a Moussa Diaby's feet, they're very, very effective, but also so good at just playing a simple pass into Kamara then to Douglas Luiz, Douglas Luiz into a McGinn. The whole passing network is just so, Pau Torres is a massive, massive part of that working, really. So hopefully he's back. If he's not, I'd expect Longley to come back in. I think he did all right against Sheffield United. I think Longley is a decent player. He's just not played very much this season. And then next to him, Diego Carlos, I would think. And then Ezri Konsa on the right because Matty Cash is suspended. And then Alex Moreno at fullback is where I'm going to go. I think that Moreno pulling forward on that big old Trafford pitch, driving forward and dragging Manchester United players back will be a very effective weapon, though. If Wan-Bissaka's playing it right back for Manchester United, he's not a easy player to get past at all. He's a brilliant, brilliant tackler, Wan-Bissaka. But I see no reason why he can't press forward and cause Wan-Bissaka some problems. And I'm not too sure if Anthony's playing. If he plays, how great is he at um, following a man? Not too sure, but I think something I've seen with Manchester United this season is that if you press them, they're not very good at dealing with it. Bournemouth absolutely killed them with their press, and if you press smartly, what can happen is if you win the ball high up against them, if you have enough attackers further forward, you can catch Manchester United with let's say a Main who's playing on McTominay takes the ball, facing their own goalkeeper. If we can press in like a McGinn comes in and wins it off him, gets past him, and then suddenly you may have a Bailey out on the right, a Diaby there, and a Watkins there. And maybe even a Moreno out on the left. So suddenly you've got all these attackers, and effectively it becomes like a 5-on-4. I think there's a real chance for that. And I'm not going to try. It's difficult to guess who Emery's going to play just because, again, Kamara's missing as well. And Kamara's a really big miss for this game. That red card is very frustrating because I feel like Old Trafford away, I just think him and Louise would have sorted that midfield out. I think we'd have dominated the centre with the two of them. I'm, I don't love McGinn and Louise as the double defensive pivot. Essentially, it's just not. It's never really worked for me too well. But I'm not saying they can't do it. I mean, I think they will. But interested to know what he does there, Professor Unai. Does he bring Dendoncker in for the physicality? Then it sort of enables Louise to press forward a little bit more, and McGinn therefore to be a bit further forward and use his ferocious press higher up the pitch. And then Diaby, he's not in the best of form at the moment, uh, but I still think he'll play as a second striker. But I would like to see Diaby given a chance out on the right at some point, just because, the one time he's played out right this season is when he came on against Bournemouth and whipped a fantastic ball into Ollie Watkins, who scored. And on top of that, on the few occasions Diaby went out right against Sheffield United, he looked far more comfortable than he has been recently playing as the second striker. He was destroying the Sheffield player, Sheffield fullback, on a couple of occasions. But I think Diaby's excellent, and I think he's probably just going through a first season lull, having had a very good start, and I'm sure it will all come back for him. And Unai is probably going to stick with him in that second striker role because that's the role he wants him in, and wants him to just keep getting better and better at it. While Bailey is absolutely tearing up trees out on the right hand side as well. But I kind of would like to see Bailey as more of an impact player tomorrow. Maybe comes off the bench and does something. But that said, Zaniolo has shown himself, against both Brentford and Sheffield United. He came on and he made a real difference, didn't he? And that goal against Zrinski Mostar really helped him gain that. As I said on this podcast just a few weeks ago, after he had a pretty poor game against Bournemouth away, I said we've got to be patient with him. It'll come. He has the talent. He's been very unlucky not to score this season. Uh, just be patient with him. And I think that if he can play as an impact player, that might be a better way for him to come in. Because instead of starting and feeling he has to do everything right from the minute go, he said he can come onto the pitch and maybe just while the other team is a little bit more tired, he can come in and use his skill, beat a man, find a gap, take a shot, pull a pass, and lo and behold, look what's happened. He came on against Mostar and got a really good goal. And he came on against Sheffield United and saved the day and a brilliant run and a fantastic header as well. And against Brentford as well, got the ball, ran at them, and won the corner, which is from which we scored. So he's made a real big difference the last three games, Zaniolo. But I still think he should be an impact player. I don't think start him yet. So maybe Unai goes with McGinn and Louise again as the double defensive pairing. And ahead of that, Jacob Ramsey with that big old pitch, a load of space to run into at Old Trafford. If he can just find gaps between their midfield and their centre backs, and then Leon Bailey outright and with Diaby again with the two of them with a lot of space to operate in the link up play. I do think that big pitch benefits us, and I think that we've shown this season when we've had chances to counter attack, we've been really, really good. And also, we've been very good at, if we're playing a team and allow them to be a bit more ball dominant, like, say, Brighton this season at home at Villa Park, we've been very good with our pressing structure, just been very, very patient at letting them have the ball at the back and then just waiting for them to make a decision. But I do think that if the opportunity, I think if Manchester United have a simple goal kick and they play it out to their centre back or full back, okay, just let them have it, but just be prepared to like jump on them. So someone comes out to the right. If it's, let's say, Luke Shaw's on the left, press him. He comes back and they try to get it into the CDM, say an Amrabat, who I think looks quite ponderous. If we can just push onto him quickly, then let them play, but get onto him quick, and then you've got that five, haven't you, potentially? And you've got a real way of hurting them. That said, what happened last season, I think at Old Trafford, Villa were that was one of the poorest games they've had under Unai Emery, and at that point we'd had a really good run. Um, we we just couldn't really get going at all there, I remember. And uh, another worry that we had in that game was that they were really trying to catch out our high line all game. And I remember Rashford particularly got in a few times. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try and do the same thing again. Rashford with his pace to put him out on the left. And maybe Man United look at what other teams have done to us. Forest, Sheffield United sit a bit deeper and allow us to have a bit more of the ball than they normally would at Old Trafford. And then once they win the ball back, just hit us on the counter attack as fast as they can. And the truth is, if they try and do that, they will have better players than Sheffield United did. So you'd think they'd have more chance of doing even more damage to us. So Man United absolutely can do damage to Aston Villa. Absolutely. Particularly, particularly if Rashford's on form. And I kind of think if they press forward, McTominay is one of their main attacking threats. But if he's forced to sit a bit deeper, that does help us, I think. And Bruno Fernandes, of course. If he gets the ball, I think the worry for me is that he would find a kind of Garnacho out on the left. I think that's how they scored against Chelsea, was that Bruno Fernandes getting it out onto the left-hand side with a Garnacho. Although I do suspect Rashford might play tomorrow, maybe even as the starting striker, just because of that pace to beat the high line. Um, but yeah, so I think obviously Man United can do us damage, but I think with Villa, we have got to go there and really think we can get something. The form we're in, and just the fact that Man United, they're not playing well. They've been really uninspired from what I've seen of them. And I look at the players they're missing. Harry Maguire's out. Lisandro Martinez has been out pretty much all season. Casemiro's been out for a long time. Lindelof is also out to the new year. So that's so many of their key defensive players out. Rafa Varane, he was taken ahead of the West Ham game, so he was out for that. He could also be out again. Diego Dalot comes back after a suspension for the West Ham game after he got sent off against Liverpool, but he's back for the for the Villa game. But I look at who they played in defence, and it was Luke Shaw on the left, very good player. Aaron Wan-Bissaka on the right, again a good player. Neither of them will be easy to beat at all. But Johnny Evans and Kumbuala as the two centre backs. I mean, it's not great. Anana's not in fantastic form either, though I think he's a much better goalkeeper than he's shown at Man United. But Evans and Kumbuala as your two centre backs. I mean, Ollie Watkins surely has to be looking at that and thinking he can cause them problems. Um, and then you look at Scott McTominay and Mainu were the two defense, in the 4-2-3-1, the two defensive midfielders. Mainu made a big mistake for West Ham's second goal. And McTominay, I think, is just better as an attacker. I think McTominay, were he in a Man United team that was more functional and actually playing well, if he was able to play further forward more regularly, I think he'd score a lot more goals. McTominay is underrated, I think. But otherwise, Anthony, I don't get it. Bruno Fernandes, Garnacho, and Højlund. Again, Højlund's a good player, needs a goal. I mean, Aston Villa traditionally have the team you give it to you, but I back this team not to do that tomorrow. So, be interesting. I don't want to predict it. I don't really know, but I really think Villa can go there and cause absolute havoc on that big pitch, particularly if Leon Bailey has space to run into, working with Diaby, and if McGinn. Interesting. If McGinn plays a bit further forward, his press onto one of the CDMs, I think will be quite key. Because if he wins it high up, then Villa have real opportunities to score, which is exactly what Bournemouth did to them when they won 3-0 at Old Trafford. United did not enjoy being pressed hard at all. So yeah, but I have a feeling McGinn might start a bit deeper, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. And then Jacob Ramsey, as I say, I think if he can get some space to run into on the left, perfect. I think that's the exact sort of game for him. So I'm going to say Ramsey scores. I'm going to say he's coming back from injury. I predicted Zaniolo to get his first Premier League goal the other against Sheffield United. I'm going to try and keep up that run and say Ramsey gets a goal. And I'm going to say Watkins scores. So I think Villa will score. I just also wouldn't write off United scoring either. But, Boxing Day, I'm sure United will approach this and think, you know, I think they probably approached Bournemouth and underrated them, as seemingly everybody is doing at the moment. They're really top team at the moment, Bournemouth. But I feel like they'll look at Aston Villa and think we need to put this lot back in their box. We don't like Aston Villa being that team who's up at the top. Like that's not right. We should be up there. So I think they'll want to put us back in our box, is what I think they'll say. But just at the moment, they look a very uninspired team. But then again, they turned it on against Chelsea midweek a few weeks ago, and no one really predicted it. Um, you know, but like I say, recent performances have not been great. So I don't want to say Villa are definitely go out there and win it, but I think we can go up there and we can win it. So can't wait to watch it. I'm sure it'll be a great match. Villa Man U's usually is a pretty entertaining affair. But yeah, please like and subscribe. Please let me know what team you think Villa will go with. Win it in the centre, and I think we can do it. And I think we've got the players to do that in the centre. Louise McGinn, Ramsey, maybe a Dendonka as well coming in. I just think that four physically can overpower Manu in centrally. So why not? Why not cause them all the problems in the world? Can't wait. But yeah, let me know what you think. Up the mighty Villa.